What's happening, Hardscapers? It's Poly Day. Let's show you what we're doing here. Alright, so this is the lift and relay that we did for the driveway. We've got our slopes going exactly matching where we want them to with the previous slopes. A lot of different things that worked out here. Hoping water doesn't pool here, but we'll see what happens when we get the poly in. We did have to blow out all the leaves that were on the surface and in some of the joints before we go ahead and poly, because this has been sitting for a couple of days. It's been raining. So now we're finally getting back to this, which means we need to clear off the surface, get the leaves off of the surface and out of those joints so that they don't have any weed seeds or anything on them that might start to sprout or prevent polymeric sand from actually getting down to the bottom of the joint. So leaves get blown off the surface, any residue on the surface also gets blown away so that we can have a nice clean surface to start sweeping in our sand, compacting it to get that sand right down to the bottom of the joint, and then we can go ahead and activate it with some water. Okay, we've swept everything in. Now, the client asked me, why are there a few stones rocking here and there? The sand is actually going to take care of that, especially when we compact after we sweep in the sand. What that's going to do is going to level out any inconsistencies from stone to stone, very minimal amounts, and then it's going to seat those pavers into the bedding layer with this concrete sand working its way up from the bottom of the joint, as well as that polymeric sand is going to consolidate down. That's what's going to give us our interlock from stone to stone, and that's what's going to solidify everything here. You can see the tighter joints are harder to get sand in, so we're going to have to do multiple passes on this with our compactor, compacting, sweeping, to ensure that this joint's going to get completely filled up to 1/8 of an inch below the surface of the paver. We don't want that polymeric sand all the way to the surface, otherwise it's going to erode away, it's going to cause failure. We want it 1/8 of an inch below the top of the paver. So this is all swept in. Now typically I will completely sweep off the surface of any remaining sand, but in this case, this is such a weathered paver, it's an old paver, we're not too concerned about scuffing the surface of the pavers. Additionally, I've got my mat on our compactor bolted in. This is a temporary mat that's nice and easy to come off when needed. I'll have a link in the description for this mat. It fits most compactors. You just need to make sure that you've got enough of a lip here for this clamp to catch on to your compactor, and then on the bottom of the mat there. You also want to make sure that your compactor is clean. I've got some gravel in there that I'm gonna have to sweep out, because what that will do is that will all get dislodged from the compactor onto the pavers, and if I go over a piece of gravel, that will definitely cause some major scuffing of these pavers. So we want to clean that out before starting this up and giving this a good compaction. So you can see after that first pass how much that goes down, and now we don't have any rocking of any stones anywhere along the surface. So we're just gonna started sweeping in to top everything up. We'll do one more pass with the compactor and then do a final top off if necessary. It actually did a really good job of these tighter joints filling in, so I'm not too concerned about that. Just one more pass will touch up any final spots here. After our final compaction, we sweep off the surface as best we can, get those larger grains off the surface, and then we need to leaf blow. No matter what the bag says, even if the bag says we don't need to leaf blow, we want to get that haze off the surface. Otherwise, if we water that, all of that will stick to the surface and it's just a mess to have to clean. It gets into chemical cleaning. You don't want to get into that. So sweep off the surface, get the majority of the larger grains off, and then give it a good leaf blow, settling that sand once again to 1/8 of an inch below the surface of the paver. You also need to be careful with textured surfaces. This stone has a textured wavy surface to it, and we do have some polymeric sand just sitting in some grooves here, so we'll give it a good another blow off here with the leaf blower. Now with our final blow off, we're ready to water, and it's so important for me to tell you to read the bag about the watering instructions. Even if you've used polymeric sand before, it has changed in terms of the watering application, as well as from manufacturer to manufacturer. There are slight differences in terms of watering, misting, showering, how long to shower for how many square feet. All of that is extremely crucial, and it will cause it to fail. Now, you start at the bottom of the slope and you work your way up. So since we actually re-leveled the banding along the end of the driveway, we're gonna start start there and then work our way up to the top of the driveway, because we don't want water coming down the slope if we start at the top and prematurely activating the joints. And then when we get to those joints to actually activate them with water, they won't accept water all the way down to the bottom of the joint. So we start at the bottom of the slope, work our way up, and make sure that we're really intentional on activating those joints. Once you see water start to pool on the surface, you'll see a white sort of residue, foamy residue. That's just the activator. And once it starts to pool on the surface, at least with some applications, at least with our polymeric sand that we're applicating here, you will see the water start to pool. That means the water has worked its way all the way down to the joint and it is starting to pool on the surface, and you can move on to the next step. So this white foam, and then we will go ahead and spray down some of this, and you can see that white activator coming out, and you can definitely see when the water stops getting accepted by that joint. So you know, so once it starts pooling there, you know you sprayed enough. You can continue on. And that is our project there. We got our polymeric sand installed, and this is back to as good as we could possibly expect, being that we're tying in a lot of different slopes coming from the front walkway down to the end of the driveway here, and the driveway actually slopes once it gets to the end of the road as well. So lots of different slopes happening here, and since we didn't pick up the entire thing, we're screeding from an existing slope to an existing slope to the garage floor. We just try to tie it in as best as possible, and we let our clients know what to expect from it, that it's not going to be the 100% perfect, but those areas that they're pooling water and ice in the wintertime, we're going to get rid of those for them. If you have any questions about this video, leave them in the comment section below. Like this video if you found it helpful for whatever reason, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching.